Welcome back. This is Module 7.1, and what we're going to focus on here is the right sizing your ask, the right amount of funding, and then the use of the funds so that you're required to that you're able to fulfill your expanded mission. So again, referencing back to Carbon Roots, you'll remember those are the guys in Haiti that are making the green charcoal. This is a summary of their financial projection for the next 3 years, and you can see there's a lot of things going on here. Revenue is growing rapidly, margins are improving, and there are also a significant amount of funding that's going on. This is the bringing on of the pyrolyzers and the inline production that happens there. Improved margin, much larger revenues, but you got to be able to fund that. And you see the funding request as a combination of new grants, the asset base, and the variable payment obligations. Now, often what we see in GSBI is people forget about loan amortization. That they have a nice projection and they express the need to borrow money, but they don't show the payback within their projection, and that's a red flag for investors. We have this template, it's available to you, so I would encourage you to get a copy of that and make sure that if you're going to have a structured debt of any type, that you get your loan amortization calculated correctly. And then most important for most of our GSBI cohort members as they relate to the impact investors is cash flow. Because profitability comes and goes, but it's really about how much money you're going to need over a period of time. Again, this goes right back to Carbon Roots International, and you can see the profitability or cash flow from operations and their cash flow from financing activities, and when they become cash flow positive. Now, in thinking about your projection, be sure that you quantify your strategic initiative. In fact, it's often good to pull that out so it's quite visible to people. So impact investors understand the difference between your baseline business and what you want to be investing in to grow the mission of your organization. And you've got everything there in turning you more capacity, more human resources, more infrastructure, more market reach, whatever it is that your strategic initiative is. Take a look at what the cost is going to be so that the impact investor understands how you will use your funds. Now, obviously, strategic investments are long-term investments. So again, if you can spell out the milestones on your strategic initiatives, that's even better. Sometimes there are things that where investors want to see progress before they release certain funds, so the investment comes in what we call tranches. So having these articulated well enables you and the impact investor to communicate in a high bandwidth way and structure the investment vehicle so it serves both of your needs. One way of thinking about this is the cumulative net cash flow. So what that really means is you have a starting point of your existing cash, but you're going to be investing over a period of time and go through a period of cash burn, where you're consuming more cash than you're creating. The second part of it is that you'll reach a bottom, a trough, if you will, and that's your minimum funding request. From there, you start to have positive cash flow, but you still may not be back to the original amount that you had. So what we're looking at is that period of time when you return back to your original amount of cash, and then from there, you're having organic growth. And what the investor will look at that whole period of time and say, what is the cumulative net cash flow based upon that time period that you're articulating? And it's important for you to be able to represent that accurately and in a way that they'll be able to understand easily. Now, often strategic initiatives have a complex interaction. So here's an example of a GSBI alumni where their objective was to grow their sales channel. So they wanted to have new resellers. They wanted to have the capability of the resellers of being able to sell a certain number of their widgets in the first quarter and a certain number in each of the subsequent quarters. So let's take a look at this fictitious example that we derived from a GSBI alumni. Now, what's happening here is a sensitivity analysis. So again, the number of resellers, the number of widgets that they can sell in the first quarter, and the number of widgets that they would sell in subsequent quarters. And what you see down on that lower right-hand side is it's the nice rosy scenario. They've turned operationally profitable. They have lots of cash left. But now what we're going to do is we're going to vary these outcomes. So let's say the first thing we do is the number of new resellers falls short of plan, but the number of units that they sell first quarter and subsequent quarters remains the same. So what happens in this scenario? Well, what you see in the right-hand corner is no longer are they profitable, but yet they still have cash. So this is a scenario that is important to consider, but yet it's not sort of a doomsday scenario. Let's go to the next one. In this case, the number of resellers that they have is the same as originally projected, but the number of units that are sold, both in the first quarter and in the subsequent quarters, falls short. And what happens here is not only do they not turn profitable, but they run out of cash. So now all of a sudden, through this sensitivity analysis, you're actually able to determine which of the things that are important that derive from your strategic initiatives are the ones you should focus most attention on and be able to have the maximum amount of control. Now what happens? This always happens in some form or another. So there are things that we think about corrective action, but we'd like to be proactive and not just reactive. So what should you do? One idea is to consider trigger points. That is, if you have a strategic initiative that lasts multiple quarters or even multiple years, consider releasing internally the funds along the time when you know that you've been able to achieve certain milestones. For example, you've passed rigorous testing if you're in production development, that you've had beta testing where customers have responded positively to it, that you have some sort of certification of quality, and so on. These trigger points then, aligned with your strategic initiatives, gives you the control that you need to make sure that you're not in a scenario where you're reacting to negative news and in trouble from a cash perspective. Now, the last thing I'll say about these doing this planning and this sensitivity analysis is it's never correct. And in fact, what you want to do is set it up so that you can do this regularly. You have an operating plan with strategic initiatives. You got metrics that you want to control. Your actual results are going to come. You're going to analyze the results, institute these corrective actions, and repeat this process. As I say to people always when I'm mentoring, plan early and often, and that'll help you control your business. So that's it for 7.1. The deliverables for this one are to 1, let's update your multi-year financial plan. Make sure that you've identified any gaps that you and your mentors have talked about and any refinements to your business model. Quantify and add your strategic relationship, and then see if there is in some ways of running some sensitivity analysis to make sure that the amount of cash that you're looking for and the sensitivity doesn't provoke scenarios that are really detrimental to your organization. Now, I mentioned there's a couple of different resources. One is there's the GSBI Financial Projection Template. So if you have one that's working well for you, don't worry about that. If there's ones that you'd like to upgrade to or you think you'd like to upgrade to, take a look at the GSBI Financial Projection Template. The second thing I mentioned was the loan amortization schedule, which is available to you. And third is there's finance mentors. That is, your mentor may not be the type of individual who likes to dig around in your spreadsheet, but we do have people who can help you there. And they'll be happy to do that. Let me know, or Cassandra, and we'll help you find the right resources. Plus, in residence, you're going to have impact investors. John Kohler, who you know now, Bob Webster, who has been an impact investor for quite some time, and Anastasia Latonia, and they'll all be there as part of support for you. The finance mentors that I mentioned will also be there, and the GSBI fellows who are Santa Clara students will be there to help you during the in-residence period.